She limped onto the stage. No gear, no sponsors, just a battered security jacket and a locked jaw. Someone laughed, let her shoot for fun, handing her a borrowed rifle like a joke. The crowd expected a pity shot, a formality. But the moment she took aim, the air shifted. Bang! The gong at 200 yards rang like thunder, spinning hard. Silence, then flinches. All those men with custom rigs and $1,000 optics suddenly looked exposed. No one laughed, not after that, because in that single shot she reminded them what real war looked like. An outdoor charity shooting event, corporate tents, branded backdrops, laughter, flashy rifles laid out like jewelry. The crowd was made of money, muscle, and carefully manicured confidence. SWAT reps, PMC execs, even a local influencer or two, live streaming their way through a tactical obstacle course for the kids. The announcer's voice echoed through the loudspeakers, slick as a podcast host. Up next, we've got something a little special. A guest shooter from our security team. Give it up for Ms. Reagan Cole. Polite claps, a few sideways glances. Someone muttered, "Security, she's not on the list." Another, "Thought this was for shooters, not stage props." Reagan stepped out. She wasn't in uniform, no custom holster, no team colors. Just dark jeans, steel-toe boots, and that security jacket with a faded patch near the shoulder. 2nd Battalion, 173rd Airborne. Her left leg dragged slightly. Her right hand flexed slow, steady. Scar tissue climbed her wrist like a vine. The MC didn't hide the tone. "She'll be using one of our demo rifles today just for fun. Let's see what she's got." The audience smiled. Benevolent, performative. A well-dressed man handed her a semi-auto .308 with a smirk. "Loaded and zeroed. Just aim that way." She took it with no comment. Didn't check the optic. Didn't test the weight. Just walked to the line. She scanned the field. 5 steel gongs lined up across the distance, painted white with bright red centers. The farthest sat at 200 yards, mostly for show. Few tried it. Fewer hit. She didn't warm up. She didn't need to. She lifted the rifle, pressed the stock to her shoulder, and exhaled. Bang. The gong spun. Loud, clean. The crowd jolted. One man in designer camo blinked at his teammate. "Did she just—" Another whispered, "That's the far target." Reagan didn't wait for applause. She set the rifle down gently on the table, turned, walked off the stage like it meant nothing. And yet something had shifted. One shot, one scarred hand, one veteran, forgotten by the world but never by war. And now she had the crowd's full attention. She got lucky. That's what the man in the Oakley shades muttered, tapping his ear pro like it was their fault. She aimed high. Wind caught it. Dumb luck. But nobody was looking at him. They were still looking at the gong. Still spinning. Still echoing. One shot had rewired the room. Behind the main tent, a few competitors huddled, glancing toward the woman in the security jacket now standing quietly near the water coolers. "That her?" "Yeah, the vet. Got hit in Syria or something." "I thought she worked parking detail. She just hit 200 clean with a gun she's never held." "You want to call that parking?" Someone snorted. "Let's see if she can do it again." Inside, the VIP section, event sponsor reps murmured about whether they could add her to the influencer list, or if she was going to be weird about publicity. Reagan didn't care. She stood alone, sipping from a paper cup, eyes scanning the horizon, like she was back on patrol. She wasn't here to win anything, wasn't here to prove anything. She was here because a coworker had begged her to come. Just make an appearance, they'd said. Show face, might lift morale. She'd agreed, reluctantly, silently, and then someone handed her a rifle like a toy, and she remembered what it felt like to aim like it mattered. "Back to the line, folks. We're starting the charity challenge in 3 minutes," the MC announced, trying to recapture the crowd's rhythm. "Up next, we've got our platinum shooters, sponsored, tactical athletes going head-to-head in our 3-shot bracket elimination." Applause, cheering, but eyes still kept darting back toward her. Callum Hart stepped into the lane, former Marine, tactical YouTuber. 2.1 million subscribers. Known for shooting watermelons mid-air while quoting Sun Tzu, he wore a titanium rifle. Slingan grinned like he was born under stage lights. As he passed Reagan, he tilted his chin. "Hell of a shot, ma'am." She nodded once, then he added quieter, "You mind stepping back up for this bracket, just for fun?" It wasn't a challenge, it was bait. The MC jumped in, voice rising. "Oh, looks like our veteran sharpshooters getting called out for round 2. The crowd stirred. Reagan looked down at her boot. The left one scuffed from a limp that never healed. She looked back at the lane. 12 pairs of eyes waited, some curious, some dismissive. She walked forward. The borrowed rifle was still there, untouched. Same chamber, same setting. But everything else had changed. No one was laughing anymore. Now they wanted to see her fall, because nothing burns louder than ego after a woman with scars outshoots your best. 3 shooters, 3 steel targets, 1 shot each, no scopes, no retrees. Whoever hits closest to center advances. Callum Hart grinned, flashing his influencer charisma. "Let's make it interesting. Loser buys drinks." The crowd chuckled. The sponsor tent roared. They handed Reagan the same borrowed rifle. It still smelled like oil and arrogance. She didn't flinch. Callum stepped to the line first. His fans were already recording. He lifted his sleek rifle like a stage prop, feet wide, stance clean. Inhale, half smile, bang. His bullet struck just right of center. The gong shivered. Applause. Some whistles. "Still got it," someone shouted. Second up was Kyle Rivera, a private contractor with desert tan gear and mirrored shades. His shooting vest looked untouched by dust. His rifle had a thermal optic and monogrammed suppressor. He winked at Reagan. "No pressure. Bang. Hit. A little low. Clean. Safe." "Respectable grouping," the MC announced. "Now, back by special. Quest, Ms. Reagan Cole." The tone dropped just slightly. She stepped forward. No gloves, no vest, just calloused fingers and that limp, steady and deliberate. She pressed the rifle into her shoulder. No dramatic breath, no theatrics, just stillness. And then, bang! The target at 250 yards didn't ring. It sang. Center, dead center. The gong didn't swing. It froze for one impossible second before slowly rotating once. Silence again, this time longer. Callum's jaw clicked. The MC cleared his throat. "Looks like, closest to center goes to Ms. Cole." Someone clapped. 1 person, then 5, then the whole front row, not thunderous, not wild. It was the kind of applause people give when they realize they've misjudged something big, and now they're scrambling to catch up. Round 2, moving target. 1-yard slide rail. Each shooter had to hit a steel plate while it slid laterally at 15 mph. Misses eliminated. Callum fired fast, clipped the edge. Kyle missed. Reagan waited, just half a second longer than she needed. Bang, clean strike, center plate, mid-motion. Even the MC didn't speak right away. Then, Cole advances. Callum stepped over, eyes squinting like trying to see through a new version of reality. "That scar on your hand," he said, pointing. "IED," she replied, calm. He blinked. "Still shoots straighter than half my squad did?" She almost smiled. "Almost, final round, 3 pop-ups, timed." The crowd was dead quiet now. Not bored, afraid to miss anything. Callum fired first. 3 pop-ups, 2 hits, 1 graze. Time, 4.72 seconds. Solid. Reagan walked up. Someone tried to hand her a different rifle. Sleeker, flashier. She shook her head. Took the same borrowed piece. From earlier, set her feet, pop, 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 bang, 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 3 down. Time, 3:88 seconds, she didn't even blink. The scoreboard lit up. No one moved. The MC finally exhaled. And that, folks, is your top shooter of the Charity Invitational. Give it up for Ms. Reagan Cole. The crowd stood. This time it wasn't pity. It wasn't novelty. It was reverence. The kind of respect earned not by volume, but by precision. For a full 5 seconds after the final shot, no one moved. No sponsors smiled. No influencers reached for their phones. The applause hadn't started yet, not because they didn't want to, but because they didn't know how. How do you cheer for someone you dismissed an hour ago? How do you clap for a woman whose scars made you uncomfortable until they made you feel small? Then Callum stepped forward. No camera, no mic, just boots, sweat, and pride that had just been reshaped. He held out his hand. "Guess I owe you a drink." Reagan took it. Firm grip, no smile, just eye contact that said, "I know." "I've seen men freeze up under pressure," Callum said, quieter now. "But not you, not even a blink." She tilted her head. "Freezing gets you killed. I learned that early." The moment was real. No audience, no filter. Just two people who understood that shooting wasn't a sport. It was memory made mechanical. Behind them, the MC rallied. Well, folks, what started as a light-hearted exhibition just became a masterclass in real-world marksmanship. The crowd finally erupted, this time with the kind of clapping that stings palms and shakes egos. One of the sponsor execs whispered to an assistant, "Find her contact, we need her on our banner." But Reagan was already walking away, not out of pride, not out of defiance, just habit. Soldiers don't linger. A few younger shooters ran to catch up with her. "Ma'am, where'd you train? Can you teach that recoil control? Was that a standard grip or something modified?" She stopped, looked them over. Young, clean boots, shiny gear, but eyes wide, curious, not mocking. She answered one, "You don't train for the shot. You train for the moment before it, when everything tells you to hesitate." They wrote it down like scripture. Later, someone tried to hand her a trophy. Glass, polished, etched with her name. She didn't take it. Instead, she looked at the rifle, still, sitting on the table where she'd left it. Borrowed, forgotten, she picked it up, checked the chamber. Wiped the grip once with her sleeve. "Tell the next shooter," she said. "This one still hits center." Then she walked off the field. By nightfall, her name was trending, not because of a PR team, because someone had filmed her final shot in slow motion, posted it with no music, no caption, just silence, just precision, just impact. The top comment read, "She didn't just hit the target, she hit the room." That night, Reagan sat alone in the security shack behind the mall loading bay. Fluorescent light buzzed overhead. Coffee gone cold. The same hand that pulled the trigger now thumbed an old key ring, worn smooth by time and habit. She could still hear the gong from earlier, not in her ears, in her bones. She didn't open her phone. Didn't need to. She knew her name was bouncing across forums, headlines, short clips, and highlight reels. She didn't care. She hadn't fired for them. A knock on the glass. One of the event organizers. Nervous. Ms. Cole? They're, asking if you'll do a feature. Maybe give a quote? Something for the league's official page?" She raised her eyes slowly. "They want to know how it felt," he added. "You know, stealing the show." She sipped her cold coffee. Said nothing. After a long pause, "Tell them it felt heavy." He blinked. "Heavy." She nodded. "Like every shot I ever took came with me to that stage. The ones I missed, the ones that mattered, the ones I didn't get to fire." He didn't quite understand, but he nodded anyway. Back home, she pulled an old box from under her bed. Dog tags, a faded patch, a folded letter, still sealed, addressed to a name that never came back. She set the borrowed trophy next to the box, not as a prize, as a reminder that people forget soldiers, that they wrap war in flags and filters until someone fires a shot too honest to ignore. Weeks later, a letter arrived. Handwritten, no return address. Inside, "I watched you shoot. My son was next to me. First time I saw him stop talking all day. He looked at you and said, 'That's how you do it. Thank you for reminding us what quiet strength looks like.'" She folded the letter once, placed it in the box, right next to the patch. Somewhere on the range, the gong was still spinning, if only in the minds of those who saw it. A sound they'd never forget, a silence they'd never hear the same way again. And in a small guard shack under flickering lights, Reagan Cole closed her eyes not to forget, but to remember. Because not every shot echoes in the ears. Some echo in the soul. She didn't ask for attention. She didn't come to prove anything. But with one steady breath and one perfect shot, she reminded the world what quiet strength looks like. If her story moved you, share it. Not for the likes, but for every woman who's been told she's too old, too broken, or out of place. For every veteran whose silence speaks louder than words. Because sometimes the most powerful noise is the one that follows a single shot.